Alright, you guys are welcome to this particular video on easy to code. So I decided to do this make this particular video to ensure that we all get the understanding of this particular project, right? So my aim in this particular video is to take you guys through responsive design using of auto layout and constraint inside of Figma, right? So over here we have like 3 pages. The first page is the info, where we just have something that we use as a thumbnail of this particular project, or the cover that is written over there. Then over here we have list of collaborators. So if you're a collaborator, what I'll just advise you to do is create a circle here, include the picture of yourself and your name down here, and also your Twitter account, so that we can actually follow one another. Now that being said, let me get straight into the video. Now what I want to talk about is auto layout, and I'm going to try to remake what I did here to explain what exactly the project is all about. So in this particular easy to code project, what we are doing is that we are designing elements, we are designing components, design elements, so that we can reuse them. For example, you could see the way I design all of these buttons. If I go to my assets panel over here, I drag this button out of the way, right? I can actually change this button to a rounded button, or I can change this button to a capsule shaped button. I can move from the primary color to secondary color. I can take it to icon left, or I can make it icon right instead, and so on and so forth. I can make it a dark mode button, or maybe also increase or reduce the size of the button just by changing the variant of this particular button, right? So that's what we're talking about, right? For those of us that are in the button team, all you just need to do is design all of these things from scratch. Now the same way too, we have the navbar here. You could see I have several navbar. If I drag this one and I bring it out, right, and I move my navbar from menu left, I can move it to a menu left that has a call to action variant. I can move it to menu right that has a call to action variant, so that whosoever that will be making use of this particular design system, they can easily just come up with several designs and several components and bring them together and match them to form their total designs, right? Because at the end of the day, templates, organisms, combination of organisms is what makes templates, and combination of templates is what make an actual project, right? So let me start by starting the way I added all of these icons into a component. For example, I created this particular component called icons, and you can see it here. If I switch it from user to cart, only 2 icons here, user to cart, and I'm using Iconly. Yeah, so in case you don't have the plugin, you might want to install it. Plugins, and I'm using this particular plugin, Iconly version 2.3 plugin, and it has like different shades. It has that of the bold, it has that of the 2 tones. I think I use 2 tones. Okay, this is the 2 tones I use actually. This one, the bulk, and I have the light here as well, and I didn't use the broken tool as well. So I use this 4 colors. So I have the user, that is a solid that I named field. I love to call it field. I have the 2 tones here, or the blue tones. I also have the outline icon, and I also have the outline icon that's also a blue tone. So depending on what whosoever is consuming design is using, they can actually toggle between this stuff. So if you're on cart, you can actually toggle between field, toggle between outline if you want an outline, if you want a blue tone outline or something like this, right? You can toggle between these things, and it will just give you the exact thing that you want. So let me start with creating this particular atom. In this case, an icon is an atom. Everything that you see here is an atom, right? Just like in chemistry, atoms are the smallest building blocks in our system, right? So that being said, let me try and create another atom. So I'll just create this thing from scratch, so you can get the idea of how I did it. I'll go to Iconly. I will choose something else. In this case, okay, let me start with the home icon, right? The home icon is a perfect icon for this. So I'm going to click a home icon here. I'm going to drag it somewhere here, and the moment I do that, I'm going to make it a component. I love making my icons 24px or 24 point. So I'll come over here, I'll say 24, and I'll make it a component, of course. So the moment I make it a component, I can start adding variants to this particular icon, right? So let me just go to layout. So I can start adding several variants to this particular icon. So under my variant here, I'll click on the plus sign. And the moment I click on the plus sign, I have like 2 variants of this particular icon. Don't worry, I don't need the second one. I'm just doing it so I can use it to create subsequent variants. So the next thing, I'm going to click here and try to stretch it a bit to accommodate more space. And I'll move to another icon set, which is I'll look for the Bluetooth icons of that same one. Okay, unfortunately, the home does not have a Doto icon. It's basically the same thing too as well. So I also have the lights as well. I also have home. So this is it. So I'm going to click this as well, right? And yep, that's it here. I'm going to make it 24, plug the aspect ratio over there, make it 24, make it component as well, and drag it straight into this particular point. And I'm going to take this other one off. I don't really need that. So I have this now, right? Then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look for another one, not broken. Let's see, the same thing too. So unfortunately, home just has only 2, right? So that's what we are going to do. So I'm going to take this off now. So this stuff now is saved as home. So we have like default, and we also have like default to default, right? So let's rename it, right? So let's rename this particular first variant that is called default. Let's rename it to fill, right? Let's rename it to fill. So I'm going to say F. I'm going to name it to fill, and this other one I'm going to name it to outline, right? So let me name it to outline. All right, perfect. So once I have that now, the next thing I want to do now is to change the category, right? So instead of fill and outline, I'm going to change the category, the property, sorry. So inside of this property now, we have several properties. For example, now if you take a look at this icon set, we have property called user, we have property called cart, we have property called fill and outline. So I need 3 properties. I need name, I need fill, and I need outline. That's the properties I need. So I'll click here. I'll create a new property. I'll change it to fill, right? And I'll change this particular one here now to name. Perfect. And what else do I do? I will also create another property again, add new property, and I'm going to change this property to word outline. All right. So the moment I do that, now it's going to give me default. So this I'll start adjusting one after the other. So I'll select the fill one. The name of the icon, of course, is not field. So in this case, is home, right? So that's home here. And is it field? Of course, it is field. So I'm going to say 2. Is it an outline? It's not an outline. So I'm going to say false. So I'll select the second one too. There's an outline. What's the name? The name is home. So I'm going to put in home there. Is it field? Of course, is it field? No, it's not field. It's false. So I'm going to say false. Then is it an outline? Yes, an outline. So I'm going to say true. All right. So I have it like that. So the next thing I'm going to go to asset now, and I have this particular component here. So the moment I bring it out to use it across in any part of my design, I have this amazing component. I have home here as the name, and I can toggle between it being fill and it being an outline, right? So just like a true or false stuff. So basically, that's how I did this, and that's how I created all of these other variants, right, to fit into it. So if I want to add home into this particular stuff, is this exact same thing I am going to do, right? And it's the exact same thing I'm going to do. So let me delete this for now. So let me attempt to create the buttons, right? Let me attempt to create some of the buttons component and show you guys how I did it. And the reason why I left this little piece of note here is to remind myself of all of the categories, the type, color, shade, size, icon left, icon right, dark mode. They are all properties that I'm going to be using to create all of the amazing buttons that will be created in this particular project. That being said, let me go ahead and create a button. So if I want to create a button, for me, I love using frame to create my buttons, and I don't like using rectangle basically, right? I think frame is much more better. So I'll select my frame, I'll draw a simple frame here, and I'll add a label. That will be my button text, also label, yeah. So that's it. So let's give this frame a color. Where's my color now? Fill. Let me give it my primary color. I've already made that particular primary color a character style, right? So I'll change this to gray 0 as well, and I will try to centralize everything down here. So the moment I centralize it down here, I will give this auto layout. Now the amazing stuff about buttons is that I need to have auto layout, right? Now, why should you have auto layout? I'll give you an example. If I keep on typing stuff, you see, it is being hidden. Right? That's why auto layout will actually enable us to create an amazing button that is responsive. So I'll make this button responsive. First and foremost, let me call it button. I know I call this other one BTN, so it's not conflicts, right? So I'll add an auto layout to it now. Auto layout here, I'll click on the plus sign. And remember that I add auto layout to it, I go over here. I love to use 2:1 for my buttons, 2:1 or 3:1. So if I have 10 here, for example, my auto layout, and I have 10 here too as well, let's centralize this. I would want to have something like 30 here. I also want to have like 30 here. So this is like 3:1 for buttons, or better still, you can also have 2:1 for buttons as well. But okay, this is cool. So it's something similar I did here too as well. So for my button tags, better still, sometimes you can create your buttons like this as well. 2:1. This is using, okay, whatever thing is the top and bottom button padding. The left and right pattern should be 3 times or 2 times that particular figure. So in this case, let's use 3:1. I'm making 30. I also make it 30. So now, since I'm using auto layout and I'm centralizing at the middle, this particular button is super responsive in such a way that no matter the text that anybody type inside of this button, the button would what? Stretch to definitely accommodate it, right? And the good thing about this button, again, you can easily make it a block button at any point in time. So once I have my button, if I drag it like this, you see, it's a block button immediately. So the next thing I want to do now is basically make it a component. So the moment I make it a component, but before I make it a component, okay, let me just make it a component first. So I'll just make it a component, right? So this is my button component, right? So this is, in this case now, this button is under the sharp edge property. So I'll start to give it all of my property. I'll start creating all of my property to this particular variant, right? So that's what I want. That's the next thing I need to do. But before I do that, let me just create the outline button first. So I'm going to make this another variant. I'll say plus sign. Remember that I click on plus sign, I've actually created another variant, right? The next thing I just need to do is just to click here and make it, give it a stroke. I normally use 2 strokes for my outline buttons. I'll give it a color, use the primary color. For the fill now, I take this guy off. Then for the color here, I make it a primary color, and I have an amazing outline button over here. So the next thing I need to do now is to watch this stuff over here and start giving it the required properties. So this is it here now. So the first property that we have here is called type. So I'll call this type. Then I'll start adding on my properties now. So new property. The next one is color. I'll add another property again. New property. The next one is shade. I'll add another property again. New property. The next one is size. Add another property again. New property. The next one is icon left. I love to use underscore, icon underscore left. Now the next property that we have here is icon right. So I'll say icon underscore RIGHT, right? And of course the last property that we have here is dark mode. So I'm going to say dark underscore mode. Now the moment I have that, I have everything up and ready, right? So it's just for me to start creating these amazing properties, right? So mind me if I will stretch this a little bit and basically just adjust it now like this. So this is it. So now I'm going to select this stuff and start giving it the actual value, right? So the type of this button is called sharp. I have to call it sharp edge button because it does not have any rounded shape over here. Then the color of course is primary, so I'm going to say primary. This is my primary button. The shade of course it's fill, so I'm going to say fill. The size of course is large, I'm going to say large. Icon left, I'm going to say false. Of course it's false because it does not have icon left. Icon right is also false because there's no icon as well. Dark mode is also false. I can say false too as well. Alright, so that's amazing. So we are done styling this particular one, right? So this other button now, the next thing I want to do, I'll say, okay, what's the type of the button? This type of button is what? It's an outline. No, it's a sharp edge button too. So this is sharp. The color is also primary. The shade now is outline. Alright. The size is still large. Alright. Icon left is still false. Basically the same thing. Icon right left is also false. Dark mode is also false. Alright, so this is it. So the moment I basically drag in an instance of this particular button here, I will be able to like style everything. So you could see I have everything here and I can actually start toggling it, right? So the moment I move this from this is sharp, of course, I can move it from fill to outline button immediately. And basically this is just only the difference between both of them, right? So let me go ahead and create another variant. For example, let me create the capsule shape, right? So if I'm creating the capsule shape, all I just need to do is I'm creating another variant here, and in this case now I will scroll down, no, not down, up a little bit, and I'll add like an amazing variant of, let's say, like 20. So if I add 20 here, it will give me the capsule shape button. And once I have the capsule shape button, I'll start changing the type. It's sharp, no, it's not sharp, it's capsule. So this is the major difference actually. Capsule is still primary, the fill is still, the shade is still fill, the size is still large, there is no icon left, there is no icon right, and so on and so forth. So if I come in here under my type, I can just move it to capsule, right? Which is super amazing. So I did for both sharp fill, sharp edge, rounded fill, rounded outline, capsule fill, capsule outline, and I'll go back again, sharp icon left, sharp icon right, and sharp outline icon left, sharp. So each of them has like 2 each, right? So we'll go through everything. So let's try and just implement the icon now. So I will show you guys the difference. Now if I want to add icon to any of the variants, so I'll click here. Let's say I want to add like icon left to the capsule fill. So the moment I click here now, I'll go to my layers, my assets, sorry, and I'll try to bring in my home icon, and I'll put it inside it. And the moment I just put it inside it, you could see that it fits amazingly inside that particular area. So, and I can change that particular color, that particular black color. I can easily change it to white, and if I click on this one now, I can now start changing my sizes, right? Oh, I think I need to reduce this like 20. All right, perfect. So now I can click here now, I can now say a stick capsule is fill, everything is the same thing, but icon left becomes what? True now. Icon left becomes true, every other thing becomes false. So basically that's just the difference. So if I click here now, I can say icon left now, that's giving me this switch way of switching variant because of true and false. So if I move it now, I'm going to see my icon left will definitely appear, right? And if my icon left definitely appear, any I want to use this particular variant, I can easily go back to inside the home and also switch the icon as well, right? Which is super amazing. It's the same thing I can do here too as well. If I create an instance of this particular component here, if I go to the icon, I can say, okay, this particular button, I'm not working with user, I'm working with cat. I can just easily come and say cat, and the kind of cat I'm working with is cat that has a dual tone, or a fill cat that has a dual tone or something, which is super amazing. So with this, we are creating an amazing responsive design. So basically that's how I created the button. So after creating the button, creating the icon and creating the button, so the next thing I did was try to create different nav bars. But in this particular video, because the video is becoming too long, so I'm not going to create a full nav bar because I want to call the video to an end in a short moment now. But let me just draw something smaller. So I will select assume so that this is my what's this now? This is my navigation bar. So I'm going to give this 1440. This is like the recommended size for desktop, and I'm going to give it a height of 80, right? And of course, whenever you're working with stuff like this, right, it's always good to understand your layout. So let's just call this nav. It's always good to understand what your layout system, right? It's always good to understand your layout. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to my auto layout or layout grid, and I'll add it here. I will say no, I want to give it word column. So it's almost like a standard or tradition. It's not standard, but it's a tradition that will always work with 12 column counts, right? So work with 12 column counts, and I think like this color is too much for me. I'm going to make it 5, right? Then it's always good work with margin. So in my case, I love working with 85, margin left and margin right to guide me, right? So this will guide me where I'm going to place stuffs. So the next thing I want to do now is to basically place a logo, right? So this is what is our sample logo. So I can drag it and put it inside of this frame here, and you could see it just sits like almost perfect. I'll bring it somewhere here now, and this is where responsive navigation comes into play, right? I will ensure that it is constrained here, of course, and it is exactly aligned. But the problem of this particular logo now is that if this navbar is being adjusted, it's not going to be responsive. For example, the navbar can follow me here, perfect, it's responsive. But what if someone that wants to use this particular navbar in a design is trying to increase the height of the navbar, you see, it's no longer responsive. So how do we make it responsive? Such a way that once they increase the height, it's still going to be centralized exactly at the middle. So I'm going to click on this particular logo over here, and I'm going to ensure that it's going to be centralized at the middle by adding a constraint somewhere around this particular point vertically at the middle, right? And I'm going to have something like this. See, this stuff has changed to center. So the moment I do that again, you see it's going to be at the middle. Wow, this is amazingly responsive. I can move it side by side. It's also responsive. So that is how you make that particular stuff responsive over there. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring in my button here, and I'll drop it here. So the exact same thing I did for navbar is the exact same thing I'm going to do for this particular component as well, right? Making it this and also making it this. So at this particular point in time now, it is now constrained towards the left and also vertically at the center as well, right? So once I have it that way, if I click here now, everything is going fine as well, and also everything here is also going fine. Now one more thing again that we need to think about is the menu item, right? How was I able to actually make this particular menu item amazingly responsive in such a way that even when you add more menu items, it just fits in, right? It just basically fit in. So the way I did it is very, very simple. I will first of all start by creating my menu. So I'll say menu item. Let me just call it. Okay, let me just call this one item, right? So I will duplicate this, of course, holding down my alternate, and I'll select everything together, ensure that they are well centralized. And the next thing I want to do is add my auto layout to it. What this particular space here, I'll give them like 30, of course. I always love naming stuff, so I'm just going to call this stuff menu. Yep. So this auto layout here with 30 here is one that is responsible for ensuring the space between them are actually in that particular line. So I'll go ahead and make this like 10, and I can also go ahead and make this like 20 as well. So I can go ahead and make it like 30 as well, but I love to use 30 though. So I'll bring it there, and I'll take my menu now here. Now just by me adding auto layout to the menu, treating the menu as an atom of its own. Now we have several atoms coming together and several molecules coming together to actually give me my organism, right? So now if you could see me creating even the menu item as an atom. So I create this menu item as an atom, such a way that if I come over here and change the color from gray to, let's say, primary right now, I strongly believe that everything around this place that I use is going to be changed to primary. That is how connected this particular design system is. Super connected. I'll come over here now. I'll just duplicate. All I just need to do is come over here in my layer and Control D to basically duplicate this thing, right? And the next thing I could do is, if I want to centralize it, of course, I just ensure that this particular menu item is being centralized or aligned to the left. Anyone, if it is centralized, of course, you should know what I'm about to do. I'll just come here and say what I'll do something like this. Yep, and I'll do something like this. Yep, and it is constrained to the middle of it, such a way that if you resize this, it is always at the middle of that damn thing, right? So, and that is how we create responsive navbar. So from the navbar team, what am I expecting from you? I want you guys to create several ways that you can think a navbar will be or will look like, several UI interface for navbars added to this particular variant. Create several kind of buttons following the same direction added as well. Then under our organisms as well, if you are inside the hero team as well, for example, I created a sample hero here and use it. So the entire project is just with building components, so that people that want to design in the future will not necessarily build components from scratch anymore. They can just basically pick components inside it, pick different layout of navbar, pick different layout of heroes, pick different sections, and they will have an amazing design. For example, I pick the navbar that have this particular one. I can also change it to say, okay, I prefer the center one as well, with a, instead of an outline call to action, I don't want an outline call to action here. I want a rounded call to action, no, not rounded, capsule, and I also want it to be fill as well. So where is that shade? I also want it to be fill, and the call to action text now I can now change it. Say, okay, instead of call to action, they let it be what login or something, or register, or join or something. Let me say join community, join project. Okay, let me use the word project. I can put it there, okay, because I'm using this stuff. Let me put it join project. Alright, so perfect, that's it, right? And the moment I play this now, I have an amazing design, I have an amazing outcome, right? So the moment you have several components, several navbars, several kind of buttons, several kind of hero session, people can easily just come up with design, and the front end guys will come up with the code as well. People can easily come up with the code, which means that we are definitely going to meet our value proposition for this particular project, which will help people in the future to design fast, build fast, and definitely launch faster. If you have any question, ask me in the comment section, and if you're not part of the project as well, let me know, so I will send you an invite link so that you can be part of this particular project. And I hope to see you guys inside, designing amazing sections, design amazing components and elements that will be amazingly responsive and reusable, right? So say something in the comment section. Good day. Bye bye.